Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Rachel Varga. I'm a board certified aesthetic nurse specialist, and you are tuning into the Rachel Varga podcast. And also, we are live on the Rachel Varga YouTube channel and on Facebook. So, welcome, new and returning listeners. I definitely have a exciting interview here for you. 20% of all of you who tune in here are men, so we have the lovely Brian and Greg joining us today from this pretty cool company called Scizenna. And this interview, we're going to be learning all about a number of different, skin conditions. We're going to learn about skin inflammation, what the latest research is telling us, recovery options with the creators of Scizenna. So just a reminder, if you're able to tune in live here, please leave your live questions in the comments section. Either if you're tuning in on Facebook or YouTube, we'll be able to bring your questions on live and answer them with these incredible experts in the space of skin inflammation. Brian and Greg are really trying to bring just the latest information to you guys to help all of you who may be dealing with really challenging skin conditions, eczema, psoriasis, all sorts of things. If you don't know much about those skin conditions, this is actually going to be a really good interview for you guys to listen to. So if you know someone with some of those skin conditions, you can start to be, a little bit more sensitive, because people that have psoriasis and eczema, it can be very difficult. So whatever we can do to support one another is just going to help all of those around us. And again, we have a number of people hopping on live, which is great. Leave us your questions we're going to be talking about skin conditions here. So I just want to welcome Brian and Greg, the makers of Scizenna. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Hey, thanks, Rachel. This is Greg here. Brian?
Yeah, sure. So basically, Greg and I are a tag team duo. He's a chemical engineer. I'm a chemist. We met in our professional lives, but we both came across a challenge that we were really excited to solve. Unfortunately, challenges often present themselves in not the best of ways. And I'm sure Greg can kind of talk more to that specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Brian said, I went to school for chemical engineering, got your old traditional chemie job, but it wasn't until all of this is Brian's fault, essentially. He was the one that got me onto keto and like the mental benefits of keto. And before that, I knew that like my skin was a little sensitive. I knew that I knew I had something extra about myself, about my skin. So but I never really gave it too much thought until I got a skin condition. And that's in general what we're talking about today. This skin condition, it was awful. It was called prurigo pigmentosa, or the keto rash. Um, I got that, what was it, Brian? 2 years ago now? I think it was
Yeah,
about
I would say so.
yeah,
Yep.
when Brian was the one who got me to start keto, and I loved it, of course I do, but then the skin condition happened. So in short, it was something that opened my eyes into what a lot of people suffer from. Not necessarily just the keto rash, because I will admit it is pretty rare, but it opened my eyes to other conditions like eczema and psoriasis. Just what the discomfort, just like even the lack of sleep, the like almost embarrassment sometimes you feel. A lot of negativity can be surrounded around this skin condition, and we want to approach it from a more positive angle. We want to approach it from more a scientific, holistic view that can help people and help me like it did.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So we're going to basically be learning all about skin inflammation, the latest research, because you guys are on the leading edge of what's coming down the pipeline, which is fantastic, and recovery options. And you mentioned something pretty interesting. I'd love for you guys to just tell us a little bit about the keto rash, because keto is basically like the newer version of Atkins, right? You could read a book
Right.
from the 1970s and it's still going to be the same type of information. We're wanting to keep our bodies in that sort of like that keto state, if you will. And if this is new to you, feel free to tune into Dave Asprey's information on Bulletproof Radio. He's a wealth of information on this. But what is the keto rash?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and tackle it. So the keto rash in general, the way we would answer it, it's an inflammation or inflammatory response. So specifically, people who might have sensitive skin or something, and they go on to keto, they might experience a little bit of itching. They might experience some bumps. They might find that their skin is now doing different weird things and it's breaking out. So in my experience, and which is most common to people who get keto rash, is you'll find a rash on your torso. I kind of got it like below my armpits, right on the center of my stomach. The worst was around my belt, around my waist. So every time I took a step, it's itching, and like every time. Um, well, typically the keto rash will be around those areas. You Unfortunately, I can't give anyone an answer as to the mechanism behind what actually happens on the molecular level. Unfortunately, humanity just doesn't know yet. We would love to find out.
I just want to actually share some of your photos from your website. I'm going to bring that up here. So I'm just going to do a quick share screen.
That's a great idea.
So can you guys see that okay?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the keto rash that you were talking about. So just kind of, if people are experiencing this, what does this mean?
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is from left to right. The leftmost picture is actually when I woke up. For my particular case, I find the keto rash usually kind of explodes right in the morning. So that's what it is in the morning. And then day by day, I would take pictures of it, applying the cream we developed and watching it go away. So that's what you're seeing now. And the last picture there is actually day 4.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
I'm so glad, honestly, I'm so glad that you actually pulled up those pictures, because that's a comment, and that's something that we get a lot, that I get a lot, is I don't know if I have keto rash. How do I know that? Like, maybe I started the keto diet, but it could be a diet change too, because we know that diet changes change your skin, of course. I mean, Rachel, you know this very, very well. So I'm glad you picked those up, because that is like a very typical depiction of what the rash even looks like.
Mm-hmm. And I work with a number of individuals that meet with me, and they have things like psoriasis and eczema. And of course, this isn't medical information. This is, this is educational info, right? Always check with your physician, but we got to see what the root cause is between, what you're seeing on your skin and what's maybe going on the inside, actually contributing to what's happening. So what is some of the latest research saying that has come out regarding inflammatory skin issues?
Yeah, sure. So Rachel, I'll jump in here. Basically, what we're finding is that inflammation, although a really simple term, describes a very complex series of various actors that come into play. And basically, it comes down to white blood cells, leukocytes, also known as lymphocytes. And basically, there's various forms of lymphocytes, but the purpose of these white blood cells is that when an inflammatory response is required, they're ready to act. They'll produce things called cytokines, which are small messenger proteins. There are anti-inflammatory cytokines. There are pro-inflammatory cytokines. But traditionally, when it comes to skin irritation, such as eczema, there might be a disproportionate level of cytokines present in your body. A great example too is with Greg and keto rash. Keto rash can also be the result of a very overactive inflammatory response going on internally. So basically, the latest research is saying that what we need to be looking for is kind of the fuel that allows these mechanisms to occur. And it's kind of like a long downstream effect where maybe in the case of eczema, there might be irritation of the skin. So maybe you scratch your skin. What you may not be realizing is that you are unknowingly causing this reaction, this downstream effect of mechanisms to occur. So basically, you scratch your skin, and there's these lymphocytes that can produce what are called interleukins. Interleukins basically serve as messengers between leukocytes, which is where the name interleukin comes from, basically a messenger between leukocytes. And basically, discovered, I would say in 2001, a big prominent player called IL-17 came about. Interleukin 17 is interesting because it can affect other leukocytes and their production of cytokines. So what researchers have found is that by suppressing this IL-17 cytokine, there can be a great reduction in atopic dermatitis. But that's just the start of the iceberg. Basically, IL-17 can cause other interleukins to form, such as IL-4 and IL-5, as well as IFN gamma. Now, these interleukins are slightly different than IL-17 because they're produced by different lymphocytes, specifically Th2 and Th1 lymphocytes. Now, I know things are starting to sound very complicated, but basically, as we get more granular from our lymphocytes down to our interleukins, down to cytokines, we start knocking on the door of what's known as immunoglobulin E. IgE is an antibody that basically can cause dermatitis to sprout from nowhere. So basically the name of the game is you want to stop the production of interleukins, you want to reduce the production of cytokines, you want to reduce the production of IgE produced from these cytokines. Long story short, the main variable in between all of these mechanisms are what are known as free radical generators, as well as rich oxygen reactive species. So basically, oxygen as well as free radicals are the fuel to allowing these mechanisms to occur. So the ideal solution is something that can interact with these cytokines, that can reduce free radicals, as well as have antioxidant capabilities to reduce the reactive oxygen species present. Sounds like a lot, but basically this is the commonality between many skin conditions, is basically the fuel that allows these reactions to occur.
I'm a big fan of making sure that people really get a snapshot of what's happening in their body. So, for example, there's various cheek swab genetic tests. So you can see what your body's prone to that's going to create more oxidative stress in your body, which of course is going to manifest itself on its skin. And then also other things like gut microbiome testing. I think those are all really key. Do you see those types of avenues as testing instead of guessing helpful for people with different skin conditions like eczema, like psoriasis, and other issues?
Yeah, I think that's the name of the game. I think inflammation is very individualized. I would like to think that there is just one, solution to all of it, but there simply isn't. Some individuals have very high levels of interleukin 17. Some may not. Some may have more higher levels of interleukin 4, as well as other leukotrienes that are present. I know it sounds like a lot of technical jargon, but I think, Rachel, you touched on a really good point that you need to, I think step one, it's almost like a dictionary. You need to figure out what these terms are. What is really the actors that are interplay in such grand things such as eczema and psoriasis? Try to figure out what the language is. And then what I would do is I would approach your medical professional and say, hey, I did some research. I looked into these several things. I would love to know what tests are available to me in order to determine my individual inflammatory response. And I think that's the picture that I would really caution a lot of people, that if they hear that, inflammation is just this, a simple solution, a single thing, I would say, you will want to take a step back and you really want to understand what's going on, not in the scope of everybody, but you yourself individually.
And then layering all those different pieces of the puzzle that might be causing inflammation in the body. So we have to start to really get in tune with what our skin might be telling us. But I also work with lots of people who they've already cleaned up their homes, right? They don't have mold in their homes. They're using really great, clean, all organic household cleaning products. They're using clean products for their skin. And then they meet with me and then I kind of help to tweak their skin routine a little bit, which is fantastic. There are actually treatments that can be done with people with different skin conditions that can be helpful. And I discussed that during a one-on-one call at rachelvarga.ca. But you guys have a product that you have developed, which is fantastic. So tell us, what are some of the benefits of the Scizenna Black Seed Rub?
Yeah, so I can't express like how much gratitude I have that you wrote down like step 1, step 2, because that's actually, oh yeah, and you even have it there too. Yeah, look out for that little guy. This approach, our initial original approach wasn't really what we were just talking about. I will be the first to admit. I kind of just found like a hydrocortisone. I thought it was just like a regular poison ivy or something. I honestly thought it was like some Alka-Seltzer I started drinking. Whatever it was, I never took the steps. So the benefits are due to this questioning that we've done. So first things first is something what Brian actually said. Well, let's talk about the main ingredient, thymoquinone, or the main ingredient in black seed oil. That's the power horse of the whole cream. That's what really makes this work. It is the one thymoquinone inside the black seed oil that goes into the leukotriene inflammation process, and it actually acts as a free radical quencher. So that's where it just swoops right in and snaps them away and says, "Hey, skin, stop inflaming. You're doing it too much." So it goes in and quenches that. So that's benefit number one. You're going to get that anti-inflammatory effect. Two, Brian did say that, hey, the more you scratch it, the more you irritate it, really the worse it's going to get, because you're going to keep, it's a self-repeating cycle. So we do have flower extracts as well as menthol inside here to take care of the itching.
Oh, I love
Um,
the menthol factor actually in
yes.
your product. It just like it's cooling, it smells really nice. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't have any inflammatory skin conditions, but I do like the way that it feels. It
You
feels great.
honestly, you may as well have just quoted like half our customers or half the
Yeah.
people that talk about the cream, because that's what they feel right away, and it's fantastic. So if we get them to stop itching, then people can use the thymoquinone to start healing, start working on the inflammation. Um, and then apart from that, it's water based. We try to use as many natural ingredients as we can. We certainly have, I'm glad you also even wrote down hydrating, because it is hydrating actually.
Yeah,
We
it's
do
really nice.
use hyaluronic acid to transport as much water. By the way, for those listening, hyaluronic acid is already found in your body. Um, it is another natural ingredient that has taken over the skincare industry as of recently,
However,
because
there are
it's
different
fantastic.
molecular sizes of hyaluronic
Yes,
acid. So
yes,
just because it's listed on the back of a bottle that you pick up at your local chemist or drugstore doesn't mean it's actually going to be bioavailable. This is really, really important for you guys to understand the whole like greenwashing, pink washing, blue washing with skincare. You really want to look at what the data is showing us. And I just love that you guys are really just doing your best at trying to give people with really difficult skin conditions where they're trying to sleep and they're in pain. And I've talked to a lot of dermatologists actually in one of my recent summits talking about how some of these skin conditions can be very mentally distressing on people. So if you know someone that has eczema, psoriasis, or another type of skin issue, really share this episode with them as a resource to learn more if this option is going to be right for them.
absolutely. And it's so important you even mentioned sleep. I mean,
Mhm.
because all your skin, we're all one organism. We need to have a balance in everything. If you're so itchy you can't sleep, then you're imbalancing yourself. You're not getting what sleep benefits you. And now you're just going to go into a bit of a spiral. And so that's where we want to help people. We want them to be a better person. And if their skin's in the way, or if their skin's doing something, let's help out.
Mhm. So do you both have any closing words?
Sure. I'll jump in really quickly. The one thing I would say, and honestly, one of the most important takeaways from this talk is that obviously natural solutions are most likely the best solution, as well as do a little bit of research, try to educate yourself as best as you can, and then present that to your medical professional. At a minimum, we would love if we were able to acquire some new potential customers via this talk. However, please visit the Scizenna page, specifically our research page, just to find out more.
I would
Mhm. Yeah,
say,
that's
like
great.
what Brian said, education, I think that's the number one. I mean, I don't care what we're doing. If we're teaching someone something about what we're doing, I find that a success. That was kind of the only way we could even develop a cream like this, is with a significant amount of questioning, significant amount of research and learning. So just learn.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I would go for something like this over, say, something you might be getting at the drugstore that's full of parabens, phthalates, sulfates, artificial dyes,
Right.
fragrances, right? You know,
Hmm.
people that are having a lot of skin issues, that's what's going to happen. They're going to go to their local pharmacy, they're going to pick up a product that's going to be soothing and anti-itch, but it unfortunately can just be filled with all these other toxins, which unfortunately can even make matters worse. So it's really important to do your research and see if Scizenna is going to be the right option for you. And just a reminder to everyone, make sure you use promo code VARGA2020 for 10% off of your order as a thank you for listening to this episode here. So thank you so much, Brian and Greg, for joining us here. It was a pleasure having you on the show today.
Oh, it was fantastic. Thanks for having us too. It's great.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Really appreciate it. And love what you're doing with your channel. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Just wanting to help people. So be sure to learn more about Scizenna at Scizenna.com. So it's like science and Zen, which is really cool.
Yep.
And also follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Scizenna. All right. Until next time, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. I would love to hear from you what you've enjoyed learning so far and what you would like to learn in future episodes. I'm here to support everyone who's tuning in here on your journey towards bringing your greatest version forward for many years to come. Not only just to look good, but to really feel good. And when you feel good, it will manifest. And you're healthier on the inside, it's going to manifest into better skin. But some of us do have some really tricky skin conditions. So I'm here to help you guys as best I can with collaborating with forward-thinking individuals, much like yourself, Greg and Brian. So thanks for being on the show today.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.